It's still getting, it's on the record now, sir. Okay. Good day all. Today we are blessed and lucky to have a personality and persona, none other than the ex-DG shipping dignitary and whose name is ominous. The omnipresence of his name can be nobody in the maritime industry can ever ignore. Furthermore, the walks of life he has come about or he has always excelled with the flying colors. And that's where we have Shri Amitabh Kumar sir, Mr. Amitabh Kumar, IRS, ex-DG shipping. That was his last portfolio. So we are on our channel, Captain Puneet Malhotra'S show, Rendezvous with ex-DG shipping dignitary IRS, Mr. Amitabh Kumar. Good day, sir. Thank you so much for coming at a platform and podium. It has been an honor to have you with us, sir.
Thanks for having me over.
Yes, sir. Now I will just go about your introduction. Of course, there is no dearth of it. It's like an ocean vast thing. However, I have jotted down few things, but there is, there is absolutely, it's such a big resume or such a big distinguished personality who's sitting with us today. And I will just talk about in few, in a nutshell, in about just to talk about his achievements and credentials and credibility. Now, Shri Amitabh sir has a distinguished service period for 35 plus years in the government of India, serving in the various capacities in income tax department relating to the assessment, investigation, policy matters of organization development, public relations, taxpayer services, computerization, and human resource development. In the Ministry of Home Affairs relating to law and order, security, counterterrorism, and police and general administration of the government of NCT Delhi. And finally, he was with the Director General of Shipping relating to the Maritime Administration, shipping regulations, legislation, and implementation. So as we go down the round, furthermore, we talk about his more, feathers in the cap, the credibility and credentials. The last portfolio he had held was Director General of Shipping until March 2023. Thereafter, prior to that, he was Additional Director General of the Shipping at Mumbai, and followed by Chairman Provident Fund Organization, Chairman Seafarers Fund Society, Chairman of Maritime Training Trust, National Authority Ship Recycling for the Government of India, member for the National Shipping Board, member of the Court Indian Maritime University, member of the board, that is Jawaharlal Nehru Trust, director of the board, Indian Registrar of Shipping, director of board, Shipping Corporation of India, Land and Asset Management, member of New Delhi Municipal Corporation. Sir, it's such a long, vast thing that really, makes me sometimes nervous that the dignitary who's there with us, really, honestly speaking, Amitabh sir. Furthermore, his achievements and recognitions on national and the global front, where he had been felicitated by, globally, not to forget about from Indian front, but on global front as well. He had basically conquered with the G-Files Award. He had been conferred with the G-Files Award 2014 for exceptional contribution to the public services. Finance Minister's Award in year 2011. Received 3 awards for exceptional contribution during the 150th year of the income tax. He had received 7 certificates for commendation from the CDBT, that is the Ministry of Finance, from 2000 during his service from 2007 until 2014. 5 gold awards from Initiative Taxpayer launched by International Trade Fair Authority of India. That is, the period was since 2009 till 2014. The certificate of recognition by Nautical Institute London for contribution to maritime industry in management of the COVID-19 pandemic. As I recall that during COVID-19 pandemic, the act of God, Shri Amitabh sir, IRS sir, had contributed so much towards our industry to basically, help the maritime industry. It was a big challenge, and we'll talk about it. How did he persevere under those tenacious circumstances to bring all of us together like a team, like Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas? How did he persevere? We certainly will talk about it with Shri Amitabh sir. Certificate of recognition by International Transport Workers Federation, London, for the management of COVID-19 safe repatriation of seafarers. This was he had implemented to facilitate the seafarers in way back in year 2019. Doctorate of the Management Honoris Causa, that is Amit University 2020. Co-chairman contact group on piracy of coast of Somalia and a UNSC organization. These are his credentials where he had been felicitated worldwide and by our autonomous organization IMO as well as UNSC for the coast of Somalia, the anti-piracy measures what he had suggested, and finally they got implemented. And a leader Norway Green Voyage Project 2050, leader of the delegation International Maritime Organization Assembly in year 2018, 2020, and 2022 respectively. Leader of the delegation International Maritime Organization Council since 2017 until 2022. Leader of the delegation International Oil Pollution Compensation Fund, London. Leader of the delegation Legal Committee, IMO, and organized first D.G.S. Iron Marco International Green Shipping Conclave in Mumbai. Speaker, we all know that he's a very good, fantastic orator. Speaker at International Seafarers Conference that was in Manila. Speaker at IMO UNEP Norway Innovation Forum, and speaker at IMO Conference COVID Management. So, sir, coming to this point in time, you have so many accolades. I don't know where to start with it. How did you manage to persevere with so many feathers in the cap during, your tenure of 35 plus years, sir, almost 3+ decades, sir?
Every posting is interesting. It comes with its own sets of challenges and own, sets of opportunities. If you work for 35 years, you end up doing a lot of things. Yeah, the key, as you said, is to keep persevering. And that is something that comes from within, comes from the values that your family gives to you, comes from the surroundings, your friends, your family, your well-wishers, and it allows you to keep going, allows you to keep doing something for the country. We are lucky that we got an opportunity to do something for the country. And it was on us to seize that opportunity. I hope I did something, to help the country, its people, whoever were our constituents of that time during that posting. That has been my motto and motive, to do whatever I can to improve on whatever has been done so far. And over the past so many years, people across the board has done so much to improve our country's standing. I have been lucky to be part of it, and that is all. That is, it is a routine day-to-day work that gets things through.
Sir, at any point in time, were you not ever complacent, or the complacency never sets in? Because what I see with your present and past credentials, you always had a vision, something like an eye of the tiger, especially when you came from the background of the IT income tax department, and then you switched over to so many platforms, and finally it was maritime industry. With respect to maritime industry, perhaps correct me if I'm wrong, sir, or was it something different domain from your point of view, sir?
So far as the regulation was concerned, of course, it was very different from the regulation that uh, I have been working. Income tax in Home Ministry, it was IPC and CRPC mostly, counter-terrorism, intelligence inputs, analysis of intelligence inputs. But there are certain general issues that run across governments. Uh, for last so many years, government has been working on issues like transparency, on online building online systems, on streamlining discretionary powers, which was a big issue in income tax, where every assessing officer had his own discretionary powers as to how you streamline system in such a way that the discretionary powers are also exercised in a predictable manner. And then you have, emphasis on coming out of this, attitude of mediocrity. These things are common across the board. And with years of experience behind you, you know where to apply these concepts. Uh, uh, and that is what the administrators usually do to apply the general principles of administration in whichever field you are asked to work. For me, the first big change was, of course, Ministry of Home Affairs. Uh, those were, if you will see the period in which I worked from 1997 to 2004, that was the period of, extreme, uh, violence. We have terrorism from Northeast, terrorism from Kashmir, even the Punjab terrorism had not completely died down. We had issues of LTT cadres working from Delhi, and of course, usual law and order issues that were there, uh, all through. So that was a big change, a big challenge to come from a different department and adjust to the requirements of Ministry of Home Affairs. Uh, but that was also a great learning experience. It taught you that you can overcome any adverse situation if you persevere with it.
Sir, looking back with respect to your tenure since you were there with the Ministry of Home Affairs during your journey, and as we stand now, when we talk about Kashmir, this government has done a fantastic job with the abrogation of Article 370, I think, which has brought quite a bit of peace in the thing. Because I'll tell you, last year, in fact, I drove down to Leh Ladakh. I took a full trip to Jammu, Kashmir, everything. I found things were very normal, and the tourism is flourishing. It is flourishing, of course, under the Hawkeye of our armed forces. Without that, I know nothing could have been done. So, looking from the era, the difficult, tenacious era under which you had persevered all the way, and looking at now, what change you see, sir?
Uh, I would add to what you said. I also visited Ladakh last year, last October,
Oh,
and you could see
okay, sir.
that people were happy. They were
Yes, sir.
happy with the number of tourists coming, the economic activities, being carried out in the state and union territory. Uh, the difference between the two periods was that that was the you know start of terrorism in Kashmir, and there were external forces that were trying to fuel the you know
Trying to destabilize the nation.
and the job at that time was to defend with whatever uh, you know strength we had, uh, to improve the law and order machinery there, to improve the intelligence machinery there, to improve the intelligence machinery in Delhi, as Delhi was facing onslaught from all of them, and to improve overall policing in in the affected states and in National Capital Territory. Uh, and of course, we knew that the approach has to be two-pronged. One is, of course, the issues of development, which was giving rise to some certain degree of dissatisfaction. And second was to contain the fire itself. And that is the approach that the governments have been taking since then. Be a little firm with while dealing with terrorists, and soft while implementing the developmental issues. This government has also attacked the core of the problem. And but that is because of the work that has been done in the past, which did create a situation where a final decision could be taken. And people are realizing the benefits. People are realizing the benefits of integration. The economy is flourishing. The trade is flourishing. Now we see industrialization happening in both Kashmir and Ladakh region. Tourism, even domestic tourism, has given so much of boost to the local economy. So it's been a long journey for Jammu and Kashmir, but now I feel the government has finally delivered for the benefit of people.
Sir, at that point in time, with the present government without prejudice, did you find that you had some sort of hiccups to implement the policies in cognizance with that present minister under whom you were serving, sir? Or is it easier? What's your perception? Is it easier to do it now when we have an assertive government where India is no more construed as a soft state?
When I was serving in Home Ministry, Mr. L.K. Advani was the Home Minister, who was also a fairly strong minister in his own right. So we never felt any kind of, undue restrictions being imposed upon us. He was all supportive. Of course, the country was not so financially comfortable. There were constraints in terms of resources, but not in terms of the attitude of the government that was in place.
So now, I think, in your humble opinion, you think, of course, things have changed for betterment, and as we speak, that India is no more construed as a soft state, be it terrorism or the counter-terrorism measures for the existing government is taking. What's your take on this, sir?
This is a process of evolution. No, I remember when I was in Home Ministry, 2003. First time India had crossed the 1 lakh crore tax collection mark, and that year was celebrated as the golden age for India.
At that point in time, you were at the helm, sir.
Yeah, and
That's great, sir. Great achievement, sir.
by 2023, you have 16 times more collection than at 2003 level.
No,
So
but then at that point in time, I mean to say, you see, what I understand, sir, like, to start with an innovative idea or to put the innovation into the right perspective, it takes lots of hurdles. But once you start getting the thing into the rotation, then it becomes little, easier to circulate the same thing, sir.
very true. You have to put systems in place and allow the system to, take its own course.
And get it matured
Ultimately,
under with the corrections, nitty-gritties or fine-tuning, sir.
yes, you have to keep at it all the time. because
Yes,
the
sir.
requirements change, the expectations change, the technology changes, and if you see that this is the path that is giving you results, then you have to keep upgrading every year, every day. You have to be at it, and every generation has to improve upon what the previous generation has done. You can't sit on your laurels and say that, okay, we have achieved whatever we had to achieve, because in nation's history, that day will never come.
Sir, coming from that era, like of from income tax and home affairs, which was different domain, as I said earlier, coming to the maritime industry, how did you manage to, adjust yourself and thereafter, rising to the occasion? You really were right on top. You got the whole maritime industry and fraternity capitulated, and you basically had shown us a limelight to a goal where you had created a vision and mission, sir. So, what all challenges you had faced, sir, at that point in time?
Uh, the advantage is when you join is that you have a very dispassionate look at the system in place, and you observe things being done here, uh, things that are being done rightly, and also things that are being done wrongly. Fortunately, when you have seen systems elsewhere, the changes being carried out elsewhere, then you also realize that maybe those changes could have been tried here as well. Uh, you also have the advantage of seeing what is being tried elsewhere, and discuss if those changes would be suitable for the current uh, situation or industry which you are trying to regulate. So many things when you talk of problems. When I joined in 2016, things were very different. You We had a very closed training system where no good institute was allowed to open. And as a corollary, the system protected all the bad institutes as well. So that was one thing that immediately strikes you, that when the technology is changing, things are changing, entrepreneurs are changing. Why are we preventing new entrepreneurs with new ideas, new zeal to enter a system and give competition to the existing players?
So this complements the fact. In fact, 2 days back, I was having a formal chat with an ex-Air Force fighter pilot, and he told me, he said, Puneet, the thing is, we are always taught to aim high. Aiming low is a crime.
Yeah, very true.
So it's like the spectrum what you're looking at. If you aim high only, then you'll be able to achieve, if not exactly the same, but somewhere near the goal. So I really agreed with him when he said in their walk of life, it was always taught to them that always aim high and aiming low is a crime. And if you are even sometimes not certain, at least give it once, a try once with your full force and with your full zeal, zest, and quest, which actually matters. And I think that same thing is getting complemented when I'm listening to you from that perspective, sir.
Very true. When I was a student, I used to have a poster in my room.
Yes, sir.
Was of two birds flying, and the caption
Okay.
was, "You can because you think you can."
Yes, yes.
And
That is
you are,
certainly the goal.
yeah, and you are always limited by your own ambition. If your ambition is to become a clerk, you will become a clerk. If your ambition is to become something else, you may end up achieving that, even if other elements like your education, your intellect remains by and large the same. So ambition does play a major role in where you actually land. You have to think that you can do it. You may not, you may succeed, you may fail, but if you don't think, you'll never know whether you could have achieved it or not.
So basically, I understand what you're saying. The attitude, what we know, if we add it up, that is the only thing which makes 100%. Of course, skills and other things, you can always hone or fine tune them, sir.
You can keep adding to it. You
Adaptability, sir.
Yes, you would know your shortcomings, where you need to improve, how you can improve, uh, how to take help from others if you're not equipped in doing the thing on your own. There are so many things that start working if you are aiming high.
Now, during the pandemic COVID 19, sir, I certainly would like to know that how did you manage to keep get the things going, and in a very you had formulated a decorum by virtue of which, when I talk about the Indian maritime industry or Indian maritime the Indian seafarers, you really persevered. You really had shown us the path, sir. What all challenges did you have, sir, when there were so many calamities, an act of God? This pandemic had, globally ruined all of us. So, what was going on at that point in time in your mind, sir?
I'll take you slightly before COVID.
Yes, sir.
It will be easy for me to explain how
Yes,
we.
sir. Please do.
Uh, we had identified the problems in the maritime sector. We had conducted an as-is, where-is study, where we had identified 93 pain points
Okay.
in the office of DG Shipping. These pain points were the issues for which a stakeholder, be it the Maritime Training Institute or the seafarers or the ship owners or the charterers or MTOs, doctors, they had to come to DG Shipping to get the work done. And you talked of problem. The first thing you observed in DG Shipping those days was that it looked like a railway junction, where so many people were inside the office trying to push their file from one desk to another. So the whole idea to begin with was to stop this system, stop the system where people had to come to DG Shipping's office to get their work done. And a lot of work was had started from 2018-19 onwards to identify the problems and try and find solution to the problem. We had got a study conducted where personally I looked into the as is uh, study, that is what was the norm those days in DG, and a to be study as to what should be done to correct this norm. And we had started to pursue, even though the new e-governance system had not come, on the old e-governance system also, we had started to move towards the to be stage. And lots of places for lot of functions for which the stakeholders had to come to DG Shipping was being digitized. The discretionary powers were being rationalized. The application processes were changing. If there was no application required, we did away with the requirement of even applying for a certificate. We said our system can, identify who all are eligible for certificates and give it without asking for it, without paying any fees for it. So we had already reached that level prior to COVID. We had fair bit of e-governance in place to take care of the requirements of the stakeholders without asking them to come to DG's office. And that had made the task of DG during COVID relatively easy because we knew that we had the capability to do things online without asking anyone to come to our office. Now, during COVID, 5, 6 issues broadly arose. First, of course, issue was those who were already on board, the seafarers who were already on board. Second issue was that the ships that were sailing, they needed to continue to sail. A third issue, which the DG was not directly related, but a task that was, uh, you know, thrust upon DG Shipping, because there was no other authority to do that, was to ensure that the ports remain functioning. And when we talk of ports, then all the stakeholders in the ports, uh, port, PHOs, uh, immigration, customs, and they all needed to work in a new system, keeping the COVID restrictions in place. So that is one task, and this added the shipping lines, the exporters, importers, they all got added, to this task, because you needed everyone to function smoothly, for the ports and the shipping to function smoothly. Uh, Repatriation became a major issue, not only because of COVID, but because of the lockdowns that were followed because of COVID world over. And the lockdown anywhere in any port in the world was affecting repatriation of seafarers, and we were those days concerned mostly about the Indian seafarers. The training institutes had closed. We also realized very quickly that if the seafarers have to sail, then their certificates have to be, kept alive, and we could not do it without training. We tried to do it in an ad hoc manner for some time, but we knew that it cannot be done indefinitely. So training certificates and training had to be revived. And there was this cruise sector, which was a separate problem altogether, with about 25,000 seafarers on board. And some of the Indian cruise ships completely halted. So these were the issues we knew we had to tackle. The priority, of course, was on repatriation. That was the first thing, and on the Indian shipping and Indian ports to continue functioning without, the fear of the virus being transmitted from ship to shore or shore to ship. And we had our task cut out. We What we did, of course, is now well documented, and everyone knows. We got a lot of support from the industry. Uh, every sector, whatever problem they had, they were willing to discuss. They were willing to arrive at a compromise, a workable compromise, so that the business continued to work as usual. Uh, we issued advisories for the trade, which I said DG was not empowered to. We entered into the domain of, the financial domain of shipping. We asked the shipping lines and the shipping companies to not charge demurrage, not charge, any penal provisions. We asked ports to provide land to the shipping lines, shipping companies, so that they could accommodate the goods that got accumulated in the ports. But all this was possible because there was cooperation amongst the stakeholders also. They were willing to talk, willing to discuss, willing to mediate and arrive at a possible solution. And that is why we were the first country in the world to come up with all kinds of COVID related regulations, be it for shipping, for seafarers, for ports, for PHOs, for immigration, and by and large, everyone else followed whatever we did.
Sir, I was also at that point in time sailing. and I did see the change, the formulation, the whole, transformation in our industry because you had basically promulgated so many policies. And definitely, as far as the revalidation of the license, I was also in the same era doing the online e-learning courses and then getting the revalidation process done. This was so simple. It was so swift process that there was a time that we had to go to the MMD and stay in the queue and etc. All that was abolished. That was because of your, cohesive policies, the way you had formulated the system, which was commendable. The other thing, what I recall, that during COVID restrictions, Indian seafarers at some point in time, what I understand, you would know the whole thing. Please do fill me in with that. That there were adversaries like Chinese seafarers. They were coming at low wages, which was bringing the not only the morale but the job specs also down as far as the Indian maritime fraternity is concerned, sir. How did you manage to cope up with that, sir?
Uh, our message was very simple when we started. We started repatriation at Indian ports within a month after the lockdown. We then opened our anchorages for repatriation purposes.
Quarantine anchorage, something like this, sir.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yes, sir.
every port rose to the occasion. Every port set up the quarantine centers. Every port, when the vaccine came, they set up the vaccine centers for their own employees and for the seafarers. Uh, we had adequate testing facilities. We could provide testing of all off-signers and on-signers at our ports. So a lot of logistical work was, port hospitals were opened for seafarers. So a lot of logistical, because of this cohesive policy, which was being backed by Government of India, we could, find solutions for every problem that was coming in way of repatriation, in way of off signing, in way of on signing. The ship owners were very apprehensive. They were apprehensive of the virus, you know, going to the
Basically, with your policies, you had inculcated the confidence amongst the ship owners and shipping companies. And
yes.
that's what I understand, sir. That's what actually, facilitated an Indian mariner or seafarer to have an edge over the adversaries like Chinese.
When the foreign ship owners also saw that India is taking proactive steps for bringing their people back, for sending their people abroad, and I think the charter flights changed the whole scenario, and uh,
Yes, it did, sir. Definitely, it
things,
did.
things started
It
to work in favor of Indian seafarers. When
correct.
China was not willing to accept its own people, and so many countries were not willing to accept their own people, we were at the forefront for in allowing even foreign seafarers to sign off in India. So that I think that gave a sense of confidence to the ship owning community.
Okay, sir. Now, that was one era which taught us all a lesson. But coming to our own, industry, that how the policies were made by the shipping ministry and by you all, sir. Means from your bureaucracy point of view, how did you implement a swift response? That certainly goes a long way because to basically initially kickstart, in a very precarious circumstances, it is definitely very difficult. And when you have all the guns blazing, when you are against all odds, and that point in time, you come out of that, thing with your full steam and show the world, and not only the world, your own team. That makes you a very, strong and very good leader because they say action speaks louder than words, sir.
Yeah, you had to lead from the front. Uh, and we also realized that we have to cut down on bureaucracy because there was hardly any time to react to the situation. So
Like
one
you
was
said initially that, sorry, sir, please. I said, like you said initially, you had cut down the filing system. You had made them approach, made them come to you, or you had gone to them with a proactive approach that had basically, insulated them from, the arena of, let's say, corruption or whatever it is, but also, brought them closer to you and inculcated the confidence in them that yes, we can always approach the DG shipping, which used to be at one point in time was supposed to be construed as untouchable.
you have to talk to your constituents. If you don't know their problem, then you cannot find solutions for them. Uh, I understand that when you are talking to people, various voices will come. There are there are people, there are stakeholders who have their vested interest. They would like to push their vested interest in policy matters. They would be very unhappy if their vested interest is not protected. Uh, but unless and until you hear them out, it will be difficult to come to a dispassionate policy decision. And my policy has been very simple: listen to everyone, listen to everyone, and then make your decision. Uh, you may be right, you may be wrong, but most of the time you will be right if you have factored in what is required by the people. At times, people require something, the country requires something else, uh, and you may not decide, on the basis of the immediate needs of the stakeholders, but you know that you have the best interest of the country, and whatever you are deciding today will be very helpful for the same stakeholders 5 years from now or 3 years from now.
As what you said, sir, you were a very good listener, which I can understand. That reminds me a quote from Dalai Lama. He once said, when you listen to others, you basically get to know something which you do not know.
Very true. Can't put
So,
it better.
yes, sir, that was something, this is what it is like. A policy maker basically has to not only have a hawk eye, but take a full, assessment of the whole organization and team. And thereafter, only once he has heard or listened to everybody, I wouldn't say heard, I would say listen to everybody, only then he can take a concrete step, taking everybody together. And that's what I'm saying. This was something out of the blues, which had never happened in our industry. And this COVID had taught us. And you being at the helm, you had shown us a path and limelight. And I do remember during my sailing time, during COVID time, I was also sailing. The the sign off was okay, but little intricacies were there, but it was not so difficult, sir. So how did you manage to, on the global front, uh, indemnify the Indian seafarers during those COVID times, sir, the pandemic times, sir?
Uh, it was uh, it was a collaborative. You had to collaborate because earlier what DG used to do was within the confines of DG shipping. But in COVID, as I said, the number of stakeholders who got involved in shipping were, much larger, much bigger. You had to collaborate with Ministry of External Affairs to make sure that the Home Ministry's requirement of vetting every seafarer is complied with, and that you get support of all the embassies and high commissions. You had to collaborate with Ministry of Civil Aviation to make sure that seafarers are given uh, uh, some preference, be it with Vande Bharat flights or with charter flights. You had to collaborate with all the airline. I remember I had taken a meeting in which Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Civil Aviation, and at least 15, 16 airlines along with our own RPS ship managers, had participated. And that was one meeting that had really paved way for repatriation of seafarers. Everyone understood what was the importance, be it Ministry of External Affairs or Ministry of Civil Aviation, our own people, our officers. Our people understood what were the constraints of other ministries. And then we came up with Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health had so many guidelines. As you said, repatriation was not easy because you had to be tested, you had to be quarantined, you had to be put in a vehicle which was completely quarantined, and uh, you had to you had no means of travel internally within the country other than a taxi. And I know people traveled from Chennai to Kolkata on a car. Uh,
I agree with you, sir. I fully agree. I concur with that, sir. I
yeah,
concur with
but
that, sir.
the choice was between starting it or not starting it, and we decided that we will start it. If there are hardships to be faced, we will face it. We will prepare, and that is where we got lots of help from the ports. They provided all kinds of infrastructure that we needed for crew change. They uh, they spend a lot of money for that without asking for anything in return. And that is the kind of collaborative effort which finally helped us come out of it.
It's like something, sir, that when you have a sort of situation, when you have, you are sometimes we all are humans. We are become little fickle-minded. What I'd been taught, like when you find there is no difference between doing it and not doing it, it's better to do it. At least you will have that sort of satisfaction at that you did try. You
Yeah.
did try against all odds, and whatever the results may be, results are not in our hands. But at least I or the person will not have that sort of guilt or lacuna in his mind that perhaps if I could have tried, I might have achieved something. But when you have no way to go, it's better to try with your full thrust. Let the result be on God Almighty, and with your perseverance and with your aptitude and attitude. Let's see what it be, and that's where the grit of a person or personality which really matters, sir.
Yeah, you have to try and you have to be ready for course correction also. You cannot be adamant that the
Yes,
solution
sir.
that I have found is the only solution possible. You have to see, you have tried something, if it failed, why it failed, maybe try something
That's
else.
where, sir, adaptability, adapting to the circumstances, and getting not only getting used to, but acclimatizing to it, sir. Acclimatizing and adaptability, if I'm not mistaken, sir.
And I had said in the past also, the most important thing was empathy. If you
Yes,
could
sir.
empathize with the people who were actually suffering
Correct.
and looking for you to find a solution. If DG had not found solution for the seafarers, nobody else, would have. Uh, you know, DG being the first port of call.
Yes, because we were all always looking at our own autonomous organization, DG Shipping under the GOI, under the Ministry of Shipping, and it's like we look always look at everybody when I we go on ship as a master. Every my crew looks at me. If I'm trying to do the right thing and righteous thing to for the benefit of my people and still persevering with the commercial obligation, then everything goes perhaps falls in place. But the main thing is, if I may be allowed to share, is that when you instill that confidence in your crew, crew, what I'm saying in a broader perspective, your own organization, and when you instill the confidence into us, then we know that yes, there is somebody behind us who is going to be there for us, provided we are on the right path and we are doing the righteous things, sir.
Very true, very true. And
So
that is the
we,
confidence you had to
yes,
create. That
yeah,
as
you did instill that confidence in us. You did instill, sir. Now, sir, coming back to this, you had been, felicitated by the IMO, UNSC. What were the things? Would you like to just elaborate a little bit on that, sir? like Somalia, piracy, and all that?
India has always been very active in this forum, contact group on piracy of the coast of Somalia. Uh, of course, India was one of the victims, one of the major victims of Somalian piracy, and lots of Indian seafarers had adversely suffered because of that. Trade-wise, also the country was suffering because indiscriminately the international bodies, especially the insurance agencies, were extending the high risk area closer to the Indian coast, which meant every ship coming to India uh, paying higher insurance premium.
And the
Uh,
freight rates also were higher.
Freight rates would be higher. Another problem we were facing was that the ships, to avoid the high risk area, were trying to come very close to our port, giving problems to the fishing community. A lot of incidents were being reported where the ships were hugging the Indian coast and they were colliding with the Indian fishing vessels. So, contact group was one area when one place where we thought that we can find solutions to the problems. And of course, there was a huge security problem of armed guards on ships that were coming very close to our coast. So, contact group we chose as a forum where we would put our point through. India was also very active in counter-piracy measures. If you remember, Indian Navy was the first one to have apprehended about 192 Somalian
Correct, sir.
pirates, and
In
they were,
fact, I'd like to interject you here.
yeah,
After the Cochin fiasco, when Italian Marines were apprehended for, misjudging a fishing boat or fisherman to pirates,
yeah,
thereafter, because I was also traversing through the GOA, Gulf of Aden, few times after that, the rules of engagements had changed as far as the armed guards were there. With respect to the Indian, enforcement upon the armed guards, because before, when the armed guard is boarding the vessel, he'll ask me, Captain, these are our rules of engagement, and we will tell you when we are going to shoot the skiff in case the skiff comes closer. But after this episode, the ROE had changed. Thereafter, the armed guard team leader will come and ask me, Captain, now you have to tell me when to shoot. I said, what is your rules of engagement? He said, my rules of engagement says that if the skiff comes closer to you and he puts the ladder, portable ladder, the moment he steps onto your deck, that's the time I'm allowed to shoot. Prior to that, it is your call. So the whole change, the whole kind of somersault had taken place after Cochin incident, sir.
very true. Uh, because armed guards are not equipped to understand what kind of vessel is approaching, or whether the vessel is approaching or is stationed at a place, or what kind of activity it is carrying out. Ultimately, it has to be the master's call, and these issues were being discussed in CGPCS. CGPCS was a forum where I think India was the only country where that was taking up the issue of armed guard, of
Okay,
regulating
sir.
armed guards. And there were many other issues. How many weapons are you carrying? How is it being accounted for? How is it being secured? Who is accounting for the ammunition? Who knows whether you are shooting indiscriminately in the high seas or not? What kind of training you have? What kind of equipment you carry? What is the standardization? What are the rules? What gives you authority to do that? There were many issues that had remained unanswered because armed guards were, as an institution, were created to deal with a specific problem, and because it was an emergent problem, it started in an ad hoc manner. But there was no international regulation to to deal with it. And CGPCS we thought was a good forum where we press for it. Ultimately, the UN Security Council authorized a UN agency to come up with a regulation for armed guards. That work is still going on. I don't think it has been completed. There were 2, 3 meetings where India did put its point of view. So CGPCS was important for us, and because of the involvement of Indian Navy, one Indian naval ship was stationed in Gulf of Eden to escort commercial vessels. We thought it would be important for us to take leadership role there, and because of the overall improvement in India's image, India's power in international community, we were offered this chairmanship.
That is what I said, like, in my own humble opinion, with the existing government, it has already been, the message has, gone loud and clear that India is no more soft power. India is no more soft power. And that is one thing perhaps would have motivated you also with the helm of at the helm of our Shri Narendra Modi Sahab. I really salute him also, because the way he has brought us through all the thicks and thins. There were times, since you were with the, Home Ministry and all that, you of course know it equally well, sir. Whenever there used to be a festivities, we used to call up family, yeah, I'm on ship, that okay, please don't go to crowded area and all that. But for last 9 years plus, there is nothing whatsoever.
No. Things have changed. Things have changed for the better. As you said, India's stature in international community has increased manifold. I have handled quite a few elections in IMO also.
Okay, sir.
3 elections I was there at the helm, and you could see the changing attitude. World now wants to engage with India.
Correct,
It's not a
correct.
world now wants India to take over leadership in various matters. We have to now change our attitude. Uh, I somehow see this old attitude of chalta hai
Yes,
in
Chalta attitude was the one which had been abrogated. I
yes.
think so, perhaps, to a certain extent.
Yeah, that needs to change in businesses also. They also need
Yes,
to
sir.
realize that we cannot be the dump yard of the world
Yes.
in whatever we are doing, and for that we have to improve ourselves. If we behave like a dump yard, others will also consider you as
Do
dump.
the same, sir. And today we all are proud of, pioneered the landing of our mission Moon on the South Pole, which certainly goes a long way in leaps and bounds, sir.
Yes,
In
it
leaps and
has now
bounds.
put the Indian science and technology right at the top of the world.
So
We
that is where it is. It's the good leadership which matters.
Yes,
Because I believe our scientists, our technology was still competent enough, but they were not given either the resources, or they were not given that sort of vision. And
or the
that's where, if I,
or
yeah,
the confidence that
confidence.
government
Yes, sir.
reposes on them,
Yes, sir.
spurs them into doing things that they would not have thought of doing.
Exactly, exactly. I still recall the last mission, Chandrayaan 2 failure, and
Yeah.
our great PM had hugged the ISRO
Yes.
chief. And that
Yes.
was something so commendable. It was heartfelt, not only by us, throughout the world.
Yes. Very
That
true.
is something one to one. And that's where I say that when I talk about you, you had done something similar to for us. And that's where we always looked upon you. That, okay, our DG shipping, Amitabh Sahib is there. If there is something, we can always try to send some sort of intimation for, or try to seek some help.
Yeah, and thankfully my colleagues in DG Shipping were also responsive. We had managed to, inculcate this culture of responding to every you know, crisis. They knew that they are the ones who have to respond to crisis, and not push it to some other table. So that is one change that has happened in DG shipping, and that is a change for better. And I hope it continues in future also.
That reminds me of Shri Modi Saab's, PM Saab's one small caption that against all adversaries, when you are there, that's the time you start looking for an opportunity. That how can you can basically capitalize upon that. Same thing was there during the COVID when we had pioneered through the COVID vaccine. The
Yeah.
world was laughing at us, and today, whether it was Pfizer or something, the success rate we know, and Covaxin or Covishield, what we are pretty hale and hearty even today, sir.
Yes, very true. It is better than many other things. So COVID has taught us to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. It has
Yes, sir.
it has reconfirmed that we have the capability to deal with any situation, maybe better than others. And
Basically, we
yeah,
are no paper tigers. When we say something, we try to work upon it, and in amalgamation to that, we try to come out with fruitful results.
yeah, and the fact that you don't have to be a follower, you can be a leader.
Yes, sir.
And for many things, you have to be a leader. You have to be the first in the world to do it. Uh, uh, long those days are gone when India would wait for others to take the lead and then quietly follow what was being done by others. The solution that others found may not be best suited to you. The solution that you find for yourself is what would be the most suitable solution for you. So I think same thing has been followed in maritime sector also. We have tried to lead from the front, whether it was for COVID or for yesterday somebody was reminding me that we were the first ones to have come up with a guideline for women on board, and training manual for gender sensitization. We were the first ones to have banned plastics on board our ship, and some other countries
And
followed.
even asbestos, if I'm not mistaken, sir.
Yeah.
Asbestos.
So we need not follow others now. We know our requirements. We know our challenges. Uh, Let others follow. Well, let us take
Yes,
the
sir.
lead and let
Bilkul.
others follow. Yeah.
Sir, coming to a last question, I have seen few of my comrades are also trying to, push through this campaign for seafarers surely.
Yeah, that is one thing which needs to be addressed. It was
What are the challenges? What are the hiccups in your own opinion, humble opinion, sir?
as I had said, there are three, four agencies. For COVID, we managed as DG Shipping to take the lead and prepare regulations that they are followed. But now that COVID is over, the old regulations are coming back. One challenge, of course, is the safety and security of the country. So a reasonable uh, restriction is understandable. But when you start using the name of safety and security to curb the rights of genuine rights of seafarers,
Basic
that's
rights, yes, sir.
where the shoe starts to pinch. And
Yes, sir.
I think the challenge that we are facing is that so many new ports are coming up. These ports do not have regular immigration desks. Until a regular immigration desk comes, it becomes difficult for those ports to facilitate shore leave or even sign off for that matter. The second issue is that somehow sign off has been linked to the level of port security, and we being the sufferer of terrorism somehow keep our security level fairly high. So we need to have a dialogue as to how we can still, you know, continue with the shore leave, even when the security level declared by the local port security committee is at a higher level. Uh,
MARSEC level 3. Yes, sir.
yeah, so if we manage to find a solution for that, and again, that solution will have to be suggested by the maritime community only, because immigration has its set rules everywhere else for everything, be it port, airport, land borders, and they would not like to change their rules drastically. And their job is to provide security. Their job is to not provide shore leave. But once we talk to them one on one, I am sure um, many of these problems can be addressed. It is a question of engaging with them. It is a question of jointly finding solution for the problem.
Sir, last but not the least, what are your key mantras? What would you like to say or convey through our channel to our mariners, especially Indian maritime fraternity or the globally? What is the thing you would like to say? Anything magical you would like to say to motivate them against all odds, be it the shore leave or the other constraints? Something you'd like to convey to them, sir?
Uh, See, we have done very well in recent past. Last 5, 6 years have been, I would say, golden period for Indian seafarers so far as the job front is concerned. We have more than doubled the jobs. Uh, some quality jobs have come. Indian and foreign ship management companies, ship owning companies are looking for more and more Indian seafarers. We now have to create more quality seafarers to cater to the requirement. We also have to keep an eye on the future. Everyone is aware as to where shipping is headed. And I think two major issues that we are going to face is the digitalization, uh, automation in the shipping sector, and second is the green shipping. Both these issues are already there. If and we have to be prepared for that. Countries that prepare themselves to deal with these two issues are the ones that would succeed. Countries that continue with the attitude of being an onlooker without doing anything to deal with this situation will perish. And I am very confident of that, whether it is in terms of seafaring, continuation of our seafaring jobs, or in terms of shipping, in having quality shipping. So keep your eye on quality. That will be the mantra for the next decade. If we manage to do that in terms of our training, in terms of redesigning of our training, if we know that see automation and digitalization is uh, is the future, and we need to be trained for that. We need to identify the jobs that the seafarers can do in these changed circumstances. We will retain and increase our job potential. Similarly, green shipping, the seafarers and the ship owners both have to be ready, and it is there. 2030 is not very far. If we don't start planning for these things from today, then we will lose the battle.
Perish.
But if we start planning for it from today, the world is our oyster. We can grab 2 times more jobs than what we have now. But we have to start planning, start acting on it today itself.
Sir, I agree with you because if I share my little personal experience in my command, the quality of our Indian seafarers has started deteriorating somewhere down the line. I'll tell you the same thing. Like, I'm not trying to say that, me and my predecessors, my seniors, I say hats off to them because when we came into sea way back in 79, at that point in time, we did not have all this automation with us. It was the practical knowledge of the seamanship which prevailed. But today, with having state-of-the-art equipment on the bridge, which I've been teaching all this while throughout my all lectures and now mentoring, that we have state-of-the-art equipment on the bridge, and still we find that some collision, mishap, accident, incident has taken place because the the thing or how it has been adopted by the new or the younger generation, it has been construed as playing a computer game on an egg disk especially.
Very true.
Whereas you can see a ship right in front of you and you can take an action in cognizance to what is to be done. But you will, I see them, our fellow mariners are looking onto the head desk or radar. They basically, it is over reliance upon the electronic aids to navigation, which has actually goofed up many things, sir.
Very true. And I think we are partly to be blamed for that, both at IMO level and at national level. What we are trying to do is to add to the course incrementally. So, if you understand the present seafarers, the new seafarers' point of view,
Yes,
they
sir.
are being taught things that are no more relevant. They are not being taught things that are relevant today. So we have the whole spectrum. Ultimately, there is a limit to human grasping power also. If we try to keep adding to the syllabus indiscriminately, then they are the ones who start choosing as to what is relevant and what is not relevant, instead of the experts doing the job for them. We need to rationalize the course and we need to modernize the course. Somehow the rationalization part has not happened. Additions are happening, which because of which the training system is suffering. The training institutes don't know how to put in everything in the limited time that they have. They cannot increase the period of training. That becomes very expensive. It becomes uh, you know uh, financially unviable. So via media needs to work out. We need to let go of certain things that we think was very important for shipping. But we also need to incorporate things that are important now in this era of digitization and automation, and somehow come up with a new syllabus. Hopefully, this STCW conventions revision that is going on will take care of this problem. But my request to all the old timers is that be more realistic in what can be done instead of what should be done. If we lose sight of that, we will become too theoretically correct, but practically very deficient.
That's what I'm saying, sir. So basically, what we know or what it should be, looking at the practical aspects from our industry point of view. Do you think we need to revise or amend the curriculum where the existing candidate, besides, having a kind of a, without disparity, kind of having a, on the same page, is also given a kind of a perspective to have the practical knowledge aspect along with the harmonization with the electronic aids?
That is what I have been saying for last 3 years now. In fact, the reason behind my pitch for dual degree course for nautical science and uh, computer science, or marine engineering and computer science, or nautical science and electronics and computers and marine engineering with electronics, has been that. See, we need to understand what has actually happened in the last 2 decades. We have produced very good seafarers, top of the world, who have established themselves. But there are many areas in maritime sector where we have not made any inroads. Uh, say in the field of automation in maritime sector, how many Indians are working in that field? Uh, Very few. Still, Norway is leading. There is no reason why Norway should lead when India is the hub for IT sector and maritime sector.
Their main equipment which are used on the ship, I still remember NOR control, NOR control,
Yeah.
which is
So
pretty
why
good.
that Nor control come from Norway and not from India? Uh,
Yes, sir.
uh, Similarly, in uh, commercial aspects of shipping, why are we not there in insurance? Why are we not there in maritime finance, even law, arbitration? These are the areas where the remuneration is maybe much better than shipping. And with the experience that Indians have in sailing, maybe if we had used that experience and knowledge to, expand on in these areas also, we would have expanded our footprint in the maritime sector manyfold. The problem that I see is that India has limited itself to STCW in terms of training. So a good, an average, and a poor seafarer, everyone is being trained in STCW. STCW to me is a minimum requirement that you have to start sailing. STCW is not a panacea of learning. Every company is, giving value-added course. Every seafarer is trying to update himself, upgrade himself. Uh, so people are adding to whatever learning has been imparted by the training institute. To me, we need to have different courses for different category of seafarers instead of lumping all 2 lakh into one category, 2,60,000 into one category. If we have, say, 2,500 elites amongst these seafarers, and by elite, I'm not talking in terms of their financial or family background, in terms of their intellect,
Yes, sir.
in terms of their learning capability, then can they be taught the cutting edge technology required for automation along with the seafaring, both in engineering and nautical side? Uh, Let not everyone get into that rat race because it is not everyone's cup of tea. Similarly, attitude wise, if someone is good in finance, someone is good in law, can we also add some value added course for these people? It will not only prepare them while they are sailing, it will prepare them once they leave uh, the sailing. And for country, we will have enough workforce to deal with all aspects of shipping, innovation in shipping, and of course, the jobs that we Indians need so badly for next 2 decades or so.
Great, sir. Great. I really, it has been really a pleasure having you on our platform, and we have really learned lots of things when we try to introspect into different perspectives from different scenarios. And anything you'd like to say, what you would like to do in future, contributing towards the mainstream or towards the maritime industry, sir?
Uh, I have not decided, but obviously I will, try and continue in this sector. Try and see where my experience can be used. And whatever I can do in my own right, I would definitely like to keep contributing to the maritime sector.
From my point of view, sir, it will be a boon to have you associated with the maritime industry. It will be a blessing for all of us, sir.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Jai Hind, sir. Thank you very much. Jai Hind. Thank you very much. It
Thank
was
you.
pleasure to have you with us, sir.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Good day, sir.